Hello and welcome back. This is Nom Nom, and we are once again in Oxygen Not Included. We're picking up where we left off on my recent primer video for Oxygen Not Included with some early game concepts. We are still in that same base, and we are about to hit off the end of Cycle 9 and the top of Cycle 10. I'm just going to walk through a couple of things that I think are key to understanding in the early game. And I'm just going to first start with oxygen, the basics. So we built an oxygen diffuser in our last episode, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about how that works. The oxygen diffuser takes in 550 grams per second of algae, uses 120 watts of power, and produces 500 grams per second of oxygen. It also creates 1.5 kilodTUs of heat. One of the most common ways for a base in Oxygen Not Included to die is around, I would say, cycle 200 maybe. Your base is just cooked. Everything is so warm that your plants won't grow, and your colony just collapses as a result of not being able to produce food. There are ways around that, and we will get through that in this series around how to manage things like that. But this guy also requires power, so if nobody's running on the wheel, I'm not producing any oxygen. I can hover over any tile and see what's in it. This one has 835 grams of oxygen. Now, generally, any oxygen-creating machine, whether it be the oxygen diffuser or one of the machines that you get later on in the tech tree that produces oxygen, will stop producing oxygen when you hit 2 kilograms of pressure, so 2,000 grams of pressure. Now this, if we can get someone to run on this wheel, I'm going to make this priority 6 on the wheel, just so that it's more often than not, at least somebody is going to run on the wheel and make sure we don't run out of power. We only have these 2 little batteries. I think it's worthwhile for us to do some research to get the bigger battery. I also wanted to point out simple things like this battery. I'll go ahead and look at the battery here. This battery also produces 1.25 kilodTUs. It holds 10 kilojoules and it leaks 1,000 joule or 1 kJ per cycle. Now let's go ahead and research under power. We're going to research the bigger battery, the jumbo battery. Alright, and while it's doing that, I'm going to fix some of the sins of last episode. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and build a ladder. I think I can dig through this now. So the dupes won't be able to breathe down here because it's carbon dioxide. So when they start working down here, they're actually going to run out of air, and you'll see that Senna is holding her breath. If we hover over her, we can see all the statuses, and we can see that she's holding her breath. So while she's holding her breath, she's not inhaling or exhaling anything, but she's basically holding as much oxygen as she can. And breath 91%. So breath 91% and going down at 0.9% a second. So she basically has, it's 1% a second basically, right? So she has 100 seconds before she runs out of air. And Senna, so this I don't understand the mechanics exactly, but basically Senna has decided, hey, I'm running low on breath, and I know that it's going to take me, if I hover on her, you can see, it's another aspect of the game. If I click on a duplicate, I can see where they're going next. And you can see this little white line. It tells me where she's going to be navigating to. And if I say show navigation, I can see all of the places that Senna can go. So if a duplicate's not doing a job, it's possible sometimes that you've blocked travel to wherever that task is, and they can't physically get there, and that's why they're not going there, and this is one way that you can check that. So Senna has decided that she only has 72% breath left, and it's going to take her a minute to get somewhere where she can breathe, so she's going to turn around now, and she's going to run back here and get some breath. And they don't like being below 50% breath, so it makes sense to me that she chose to do that when she did. Now, as you can see, here she's catching her breath. She's exhaling a ton because she had been holding her breath, and now she's inhaling. Then she's going to catch her breath, once her breath is up to 100%, now she's going back in once more into the fray. So as you can see, doing that in an oxygen-deprived area could take a really long time to get anything done. But I'm going to go ahead and let that run. Senna doesn't have anything better to do. Other than that, she'd just be putting stuff in a storage container. So the other thing I'm going to do, the reason I'm doing this, is I am going to get rid of this water that's up here. I'm basically going to let this water join the other water that I have going on down here. And so then here we have Maya. Again, I can see her navigation. Now she's sopping wet because she's walking in a certain depth of water. Now she's completely in water. Notice how much slower she's moving. She's now in chilly surroundings and holding her breath and sopping wet. And if you want to see what that means, sopping wet adds 20% stress per cycle. Chilly surroundings adds 10% stress per cycle and minus 50% stamina per cycle, and slows you down minus 5 athletics, which would I think that would slow her down 100%, so she would have 50% movement. And then, of course, she's holding her breath. And then off she goes. So, hitting this from both ends, it's going to go a little faster, but I'm going to have some really unhappy duplicates as a result. And I'm kind of okay with that. It's early game, and their morale requirements are really low, so it doesn't really matter to me. So, this guy here, because we're under a kilogram, should probably run constantly if it has oxygen. But if it was in a situation where it would overpressure, you would see it would stop. And if you hovered over it, it would show you a status message of why it stopped. And it's usually because it's max pressure. Here's another trick for navigating the build menus. I'm going to hover over this battery and hit B. And if I hit B when I click on an item, sorry, not hover over, when I click on an item and hit B, it copies it. But it also opens the corresponding build menu for that type of item. So I was in power because I clicked on a battery. So the power menu, and it lets me jump in to open the jumbo battery really quick. That way I don't have to come down here and figure out which one of these is power. This one, okay, I want jumbo battery. I can just go there and then up jumbo battery, and there we go. I'm also going to copy that wire and go ahead and build that there. So one thing I wanted to show you though, this little battery, 10 kilojoules, leaks 1 kilojoule per cycle, plus 1.25 kilodetuse heat per cycle. I'm sorry, per second. The jumbo battery holds 40 kilojoules. It leaks 2 kilojoules a cycle, but it produces the same amount of heat. So it holds, 4 times as much power? It leaks twice as much power, so ultimately it leaks half as much power, right? Because it holds 4 times as much, leaks twice as much, so leaks half as much. And it produces the same amount of heat as the 2 small batteries. So as soon as you can, I would replace these, and I'm going to go ahead and destroy these and the wires that connect to them. So I hit X on the keyboard, and I draw a square over this to destroy them. I'm going to go ahead and give that a priority 6, so we can get rid of that and stop producing all that heat. Now, I'm producing a lot of heat here. I mean, it's not a lot of heat, but I'm producing heat here, and it doesn't have anywhere to go. So it's going to soak into the corresponding tiles, surrounding tiles, and atmosphere. And eventually that heat's going to work its way up here to where I've got my planter boxes, which is right now what passes for a farm in my base. And that is eventually going to get these outside of their happy growing range of 10 to 30 degrees, and they would stop growing. And that I would run into a real serious problem with food at that point. Go ahead and jump back into the research tree just because I want to get to a couple of things so that we can demo them here in this series. I'm going to go ahead and finish with internal combustion. And go ahead and take that. Let them do that at their leisure. All right, so what's going to happen over here is they're going to connect these ladders, hopefully, and that water is going to pour out and pour down here and join this other pool of water. Now, the research station, which also produces heat, and if I look at this, stations. If I look at this research station, it produces 1.13 kDTUs only when it's being used, not when it's just sitting there. Like the battery is pretty much constant because it's got a charge, it's producing heat. But it requires 50 kilograms per research point of dirt. So if this requires 20 research, then each one of those research ticks requires that 50 kilograms of dirt. Now the advanced research station is going to use water. So for that, you definitely need to have a pitcher pump created, because they're going to come down and fetch the water from the pitcher pump and ferry it up to the research station. And we will research that next, once they're done here with our research. Go ahead and give the duplicants something to do. The other thing, I'm going to come over here. I can dig that out safely because there's no sand up here that's going to cave in when I dig. And I want to give this a priority 6 so they finish it. They like these closer tasks. And again, you can click on these over here to read the tips. And then what I just clicked on was the achievements. So I've achieved outdoor renovations and bed and bath because I have a bedroom and a bathroom, and I have built something outside of the starting biome, and that was these ladders actually, because I dug through the granite that was here and got into this other biome. And there, that water just drained down. And I'm going to go ahead and dig this up here so these water tiles aren't bridging like that. Alright, when water gets to a low enough volume, you can mop it up. So I'm going to hit mop, which is M, the little mop icon, the little brush. And then I'm going to hit 6 for priority 6, and I'm going to ask them to mop that up. Now they can work up here without getting soggy feet. So these little things add up. Like if your dupas, if they sleep in an area where there's one of these shine bugs and they're getting like deprived sleep because it's too bright, or they slept on the floor and then they had soggy feet, or they were sopping wet, or they were in chilly surroundings, all these things can snowball so that your dupes are miserable and perform poorly, and that will make it very difficult for you to have a sustainable colony. Alright, so I'll let them finish that mopping, and then we're going to move this bedroom over a little bit so I can open this central corridor up so that I can get better gas exchange, as I talked about at the end of our last episode. Fixing those, we'll call them errors, but I kind of did it deliberately for demo purpose. Alright, now they can actually use this water when I build the research station. I'm actually going to come down here. Where is the research station? We are... development, yeah. So we're going to research a couple of these items: the water cooler, the crafting station, the metal battery, and really this is what we're looking for, the supercomputer. So I'll click right here on advanced research. Meanwhile, since I can only have one duplicate running on a wheel and one duplicate running on a research station, I will make sure that they have things to do. We will go ahead and build that out. I'm actually not going to build that tile and that tile, and the reason is because I have there, if I click on the leaf, I have 2 bristle blossoms there, and I have this shine bug that's been hanging out right here. I'm actually going to try and catch that shine bug. Oops. I'm going to try and catch that shine bug right there. These bristle blossoms, and this goes into my next topic, by the way, which is farming. These bristle blossoms are good food, but they require light. Without light, you see they just have growth halted because of illumination. So they require light to grow, and they take a long time, 24 cycles to grow. But if I have a couple of free plants, I might as well use them for now. Base is young, and I don't really have a farm or someone with the farming skill. See, I currently have 8,000 kcals, which, as we talked before, that's 8 cycles worth of food for 1 duplicate. So with 4 duplicates, I have 2 cycles worth of food left. I built this ladder up here, and we're going to go ahead and dig up some more food. I'll get that copper and some algae while I'm up here. But we're going to grab these buried muckroot, which are each 800 decals, so almost a cycle of food for the duplicate. I'm also curious to know what's in this buried tile. Could be more uproot if we're lucky. And here it looks like we had a wild meal lice. 600 kcals worth of food in a meal lice. Now these are horrible food quality, but this early in the game, morale is not really an issue, so that works out. It looks like we missed out on capturing that shine bug, which I'm not surprised because they move around. But I did notice that there's an egg here. We can use that. So we're going to build this frame here that we have around this egg, and we are going to let that egg hatch, and then there will be a shine bug inside this little box. You should be able to stand on this ladder and build these, but then they're not going to be able to reach one in the very middle, I think. So I'll go ahead and build a couple of ladders. The thing about pets, or livestock, or whatever you want to call them, the animals, they will not go through a door when your duplicate goes through the door if the door is closed. But if you open the door, if you click on it and click on open door, and when your duplicate comes by and changes the status of that door to open, then they can get out of that room. But if the door is in its normal state, auto, and someone's just walking through it, the critters will not exit out that door. We're on cycle 12, so we have a printing pod. We're going to go ahead and check and see what that is. Okay, I would say that this is an amazing find, the Lumblet. The Lumblets come from the prehistoric pack, so if you don't have the prehistoric pack, obviously you wouldn't get the Lumblet. I think the prehistoric pack is pretty cool. I recommend it. I'm going to grab the Lumblet just because it's going to make our colony survival better, easier. I also see that we have the little hat underneath the printing pod, which means we have skills, which we have not assigned. It looks like Gene has a skill, and that skill, as my next topic was going to require, is crop tending. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this, and I'm going to do some research into, and my game is slow because it's saving, okay, into agriculture up here. Now, agriculture is going to require advanced research, so I'm going to go ahead and do this research while I build the next station, which is going to be the supercomputer. Now, I'm going to put the supercomputer over here because I want it closer to the pitcher, water pitcher. I don't want it in the carbon dioxide because then they have to hold their breath. We'll put it over here. I'll put it here. And then we'll just run the wire like that. I'm going to put this priority 6 because I want them to do it right away. Alright. I also want to point out that that original farming that we did with the planter boxes, again, mealwood, I think I touched on this, mealwood cannot be farmed per se. You don't want to put mealwood in a farm. It does not get any benefit of growing in a farm. It cannot be fertilized. You have to feed it dirt in order for it to grow, but you can't give it fertilizer in it. If you have someone with a farming skill in a farm fertilizing a plant, you will get a growth buff on the plant of 50% growth speed, which effectively doubles the amount of food that you get out of the plant. Okay. I think the only thing we can grow right now that would get the growth buff would be these bristle blossoms. Yeah, let's try something here. I honestly don't know if this is going to work. Maybe I'll just edit this out if it does not work. Alright, they've already built that, they're already delivering water to it, and they're already using it. That's perfect. Okay, this water here, I'm going to dig out. And again, just some basic stuff. A duplicate can only go up 2 tiles. So if I didn't dig these tiles out, duplicates could never go down here. I'm digging these tiles out so that there's only a 1 gap. Now, I could do 2, but so there's only a 1 gap so that if a duplicate goes down there or falls down there or wants to fetch something from down there, they can reach it. And sleepy time. Another thing I'll touch on real quick is scheduling. You can create additional schedules. We'll just call this one the second shift. Maybe. There we go, second shift. And there's these nice arrows over here to just cycle it to the right. So I'm going to go 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. 8 to the right. So they're not overlapping at all with the other cycles downtime. And there's even a couple of segments of work where everybody's working before the next shift turns in for the day. And then I'm going to add some duplicates to it. We'll say Gene and Maya, doesn't matter for the sake of this exercise. So now I will never have a situation where no one's available to do a task because I've split up into a second shift that has a different sleeping schedule. Okay, farming. Wild plants by default will not be harvested by your duplicates. If you click on this sickle down here in the bottom right hand corner, you can mark wild plants to be auto-harvestable. In this case, this muckroot right here, if I auto-harvest it, they will dig it up. And muckroot cannot be replanted, it cannot be grown at all, so that's just another way of digging it up other than issuing a dig command. Okay, what I was going to try is I was going to try putting a farm station in this room, and if we look at the room overlay, to be a, what do they call it, a greenhouse, it has to be 12 tiles, and that's 32 tiles, so it's big enough. Okay, they built the farm station. If I go here, it is now a greenhouse, and now Gene used this, created some micronutrient fertilizer, which should be in Gene's inventory. Micronutrient fertilizer, which Gene is now applying to this bristle blossom. The bristle blossom now has the Farmer's Touch buff, which means its growth speed is plus 100%. And that new shine bug just hatched. That's perfect. So these are growing again. So now the shine bug's trapped. I would say this one's probably going to always grow, and this one's going to grow like 80% of the time. Now they're still wild plants because I did not put these in a planter. If I dug them up and planted the seed, they would grow 4 times as fast. They would have a 6-cycle growth cycle, but they would require 20 kilograms a cycle of water, which I would have to pipe in. So right now, really easy. I can take advantage of free food. I'm just going to do that to get a little bit of food for my duplicates. I'm expecting my duplicates right now to be living off of mealwood, but I wanted to touch a little bit on that. Now there are other kinds of food. All right, there's another, and there are so many geysers on this map. I'm going to take this ladder all the way up here, and then we're going to go over here just to see what we can see by uncovering them. I suspect there's a cold biome over here, and if we make it visible on the map, we can see a new type of food. And I just wanted to talk to some of the attributes on some of the other food. Pinch of pepper plant is another thing that can be used for food. It has a 32 cycle life cycle, which is only 8 cycles if you're domesticating it, but it requires phosphorite, which is phosphorite right here. You can dig it up, and polluted water. We haven't even gotten into what is polluted water. We haven't seen that on the map yet. Cycle 15, I'm going to go ahead and pause it for a second and check that blueprint out. Oh, here's a great one, the fungal spore. This is another plant. I'm going to go ahead and print the fungal spore. Anything you click on, there should be a little book icon here. It's the same as going up here to the database, but this is a shortcut to that item in the database. And here's all the things that you can do with the fungal spore. You can feed it to fish, or here I can grow it. So it takes slime, and it'll grow a dust cap, which will give me mushrooms, which is food. I don't have any slime. Slime is something that I would get down here. This leopard striped green stuff. It is a finite resource. in the early game. There are ways to make it sustainable, where you can produce slime. Advanced concept. We're not going to get into that right now. Oh, here's some polluted water. Great. So polluted water, it's got slightly different properties than water. It takes longer to freeze. It takes lower temperatures to freeze. But you can't feed it to plants that require clean water. You'd have to clean it first. So there's a lot that goes into that. In fact, I don't think we have that yet. Yeah. We don't have the water sieve, which you would use to clear polluted water into clean water. It's actually something I want to get into. I want to build a bathroom so we can stop using the outhouses, but I also don't want this video to take forever. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was water, and I don't think we've done any... Yeah, we've done research for plumbing. So you can get water without the pitcher pump here by building a pump. And I'm going to go ahead and try building this pump right here. I don't know if my duplicates are going to be able to do that or not, because they're going to be holding their breath in chilly and underwater, but I think I can. And then I can build a pipe. Water has to travel in a pipe. I'm going to build that up the spine of my base. Speaking of the spine of my base, I'm going to destroy those doors. Put 2 doors there, and maybe doors there. We're going to go ahead and do some more research. I want the water sieve, which is right here. The water sieve is under this liquids, so we got plumbing and toilets. But if we have toilets that produce, the duplicates go in there, and it produces, instead of them peeing on the floor, it would produce polluted water. In order to turn that polluted water into something useful, we're going to need a sieve. It also looks like we have some skills on the printing pod. Maya. Let's see here. Definitely want super hard digging. I definitely want field research. And Maya, I think I'm going to do carrying. So normally the dupes can carry like 200 kilograms, and this lets them add another 400 to their carry capacity. So it's a pretty big deal. Lets them move stuff around the base a lot faster. Okay, this pump is also going to require power. We're on like super speed. I did mention I had a mod last episode to speed up the game. It would normally be running more like this speed. But I am trying to touch on a few points before an hour has elapsed. Okay, so if we priority 6 this, go ahead and get that wrapped up. Another thing that we researched when we were researching the jumbo battery was the coal generator. Now, the coal generator will produce carbon dioxide, which can be a problem for our base. Miraculously, although it burns coal, it does not consume oxygen. It just produces carbon dioxide, the marvels of simulated physics. But it produces 600 watts of power, which means it produces more than the manual generator and doesn't require a duplicate to be running on a wheel the whole time. However, it is dangerous in that it's going to be producing carbon dioxide, and we don't really have anywhere for that carbon dioxide to go right now. That'll probably be something that we'll deal with in the next, in this third episode. All right, so our pump is done. So what I wanted to do here is if I take, I do have a hydroponic tile. If I put a hydroponic tile here and run that water over, anytime you need water or polluted water to grow a plant, they will have to carry it in buckets in these guys, these like water bottles, to the planter or farm tile, unless you have a hydroponic tile with a pipe going to it that has the correct type of liquid. I'm going to select Crystal Blossom. So while this one is going to take, what did we say, 24 tiles to grow? This one should only require 8 tiles to grow, assuming I ever get water to it. Here comes the water now. You'll notice the pipe was not full of water. If the pipe is run but has no destination for the water to actually flow to, it will not flow. We'll get into that in a later episode about pipe and gas vent mechanics. So now you see that it has, I click on the hydroponics tile, there is water in the hydroponics tile. And whenever this little guy comes over here, it's going to be lit. I'm going to see, I don't think I can, but I'm going to try to relocate that one. Yeah, it tells me I don't have the skill. If you have the ranching skill, you can relocate a critter, but because I do not have the ranching skill yet, I cannot relocate a critter. Okay, last thing I'm going to cover here is early game electricity. I could build a coal generator. In fact, I will build a coal generator. I will put it right down here. But the problem with building a coal generator is that it will just run. And if I'm not using power, it'll still just run. And so it'll burn through my 14 tons of coal pretty quickly. So the way around that is, well, they have to finish this. The way around that is through automation. And I'm just going to touch on this really quickly. There's tons that can happen with automation, but we're going to touch on just automation as it pertains to powering early game generators. And because I don't want this video to be an hour long like the last one, I'm going to go ahead and speed the game up. I don't want them to get soggy feet every time they come over here, so I'm going to mop them. They're not doing a lot of tasks right now because they were doing a lot of research. There we go. Alright, eventually somebody should run over here and put some coal in this thing. So the way it's set up right now is if the battery falls below 50% power, they're going to fuel it. And so right now the battery's above 50% power, so they're not putting any coal in there. I find that annoying because I want coal in it when I want coal in it, which is all the time. But I'm not going to do anything about that now because I want to get the automation first, and that's going to require a little more research. So I'm going to do 2 new researches. The first one is going to be down here, which is automation wire. It also has a duplicate motion sensor, automation overlay, a signal switch, and an automation wire bridge. But this is the one we care about. That should be pretty quick, 20 novice research. But while they're doing that, we're going to move the bedroom. I guess we're going to move the bedroom tomorrow, because they're all, well, half of them are going to bed now. Alright, and I'm going to break those beds. And they should just relocate. We have a new item in the printing pot on cycle 19. Sure, I'll take the shine bug eggs, why not? I'm not ready to take another duplicate right now because we haven't established any sort of sustainable food. I'm going to go or power. So I'm just kind of getting the basics down, and then I'll probably double the number of duplicates that we have. Alright, the reason I did that is because I want to break all of this. Whoa, okay. Important lesson. If you click X, which is the destroy, and you just drag it over some stuff that you want destroyed, it will destroy everything. It will destroy the wires, it'll destroy the plumbing, it'll destroy everything behind what you just clicked on. Okay, so I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to hit X again, and I'm going to say buildings only. And then I'm going to do that. Important thing to remember, it remembers that I said buildings only. So if I want to destroy these pipes later, I click X, and I'm like, why won't it destroy the pipes? Yeah, it's because I said that the buildings only. All right, we're going to do that and that. There we go. So what I did there was I opened up this central corridor so that the oxygen from my oxygen diffuser can get out and the carbon dioxide from up above can get down, just to let the gases move a little better. Okay. All right, we had the automation wire. The next thing we're going to research is the smart battery. No, we actually need to do 2 things. You know what? I think we're going to do that next time. We're going to talk a little bit about power automation next time in this early game series. I will just touch on it really quickly, but it's going to take too long for me to get to it. We want to research the smart battery, but I can't make the smart battery until after I build the rock crusher, which will let me produce refined metals. So I'm going to go ahead and start this research, but we did the first 10 cycles in the last video, and we're wrapping up cycle 19, so we will start up with cycle 20 on the next video. If you have any questions about the series or think there's anything that I missed in this very early game primer, please know that I will be doing additional early game primers, probably maybe through cycle 50, to talk about some of the basics, and then we'll get into some mid-game content. Look forward to your comments down below. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, this is Nom Nom, signing out.